Okay, hello everyone. My last video was pretty popular, and apparently everyone with a Chevy of these years has this problem. I apologize for starting the video inside of the truck, or I guess the SUV in my case, but it's really windy outside and you won't be able to hear anything. So, I haven't done anything to this yet, but right now I'm going to pull the cluster, and if you're watching this, that means everything went well. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this cluster out. I don't have a tripod, I'm using an iPhone, so I really need the two hands to get all this out, but you know, you just pull this out and it's not that big of a deal on these. There's plenty of videos on that on YouTube. So as you can see, I took this out. It's not a big deal. The ones along the bottom here are a little bit harder to detach than the ones up top. The ones up top come off pretty easy. I also had to unplug the four-wheel drive module. The previous owner installed this alarm system, so I just popped that out, but I don't think you would have to do that in another model. Also popped out the lights and all that stuff. You have to put your key in. I'm sorry for the glare. You have to put your key in, pop it all the way down into first, lower your wheel all the way down, and then you'll be able to pop that off. There's no real tools required other than a screwdriver helps to get these little pins, especially mine that are a little bit janky, but that one came out pretty easy. Sorry, as you can see here. Oh, it's blurry. Sorry, I can't do much for that. Alright, so next is what looks like maybe 6-8 millimeter studs that hold in the cluster, and then we are good to go. I will come back when this is pulled. So far so good. You see we have our cluster out. What's cool about this, I've pulled dashes on, or pulled the cluster on a first gen Tacoma, which is actually right here. I actually had to plug stuff into the back of this, but what's cool about this one is they just plug directly into a mount back here. That's kind of cool. I didn't expect to see that. I thought it was going to be, you know, maybe a wiring harness coming, a couple plugs back in here. One thing to note, I don't know if this is on all of them, or if this, I mean, who knows what this is. It looks fairly factory. As you can see, it's kind of in the way, especially with the cluster in there, so I kind of had to just push these wires out of the way, and there is enough flex to do so. It's not too big of a deal. But yes, now we can actually start working on the cluster itself and leave the whole inside of this thing looking like it was stolen. So that should be cool. So here we have the cluster here. I guess when we go to pull these off, I hope I don't screw. Actually, I'll just do this so I don't screw up how it's recording. Okay, so what you want to do is to get these off. First, make note of where they are. I've actually moved mine a little bit, but it should be a little bit over a quarter tank. What you do, and I'm actually illustrating this with like a fast food plastic fork that it doesn't take much pressure to get these off of here, and that's why it's important, by the way, to make note of where the gauge actually was, and then you just kind of back it off. See, that didn't take any pressure. I mean, that's a plastic fork, and yeah. So now there's two ways to go about this. You can either try to get what we're going to be doing, actually I should say, is so this is what we're going to be using. It's not important to get like team associated, you know, whatever. What you're going to want, this, that, wow, that does not want to focus right. Anyways, let me see if I can do this. Okay, there we go, that's good. The number 5456, that's going to be your part number. If if you look up team associated and then that part number, it'll get you what you need. So what we want to do is, what I think I'm going to do is make note of where all my gauges are and then pull this this off so I can actually see all the motors and stuff inside here. So I guess the theory behind this is that they have silicone in them already, these motors, and it will actually leak out or do whatever it's going to do, and it makes it where they don't have any friction against them, so they can just flop around. And I have noticed that the one for my oil pressure is a lot stiffer than the one that I just took off for the gas gauge. This one just flopped around like crazy, but the other ones don't seem to be doing that, and I think that that's why. I mean, even if you look at this one, you see this, and it slowly moves down. It slowly moves down. You know, this one is as close to it as possible, and it's just, you know, it's slowly, all of them, they slowly move. I mean, that one doesn't even go back, so I think, you know, it's important to remember where those are. But they also kind of find their own level. They'll slowly move. The gas gauge, it just flopped all over the place. It is definitely different from the other ones. I would just replace the motor, but I have not been able to find anything whatsoever as far as replacing them, because you just pull it off the back, you go back in here and stuff, and you desolder it. And I race RC cars, so I mean, as you guys have seen if you've seen my other videos, so I'm definitely not afraid of soldering, but it's kind of a waste of time if you can't even get a new motor. At least it's like just spending a few hours looking for part numbers and stuff on Google. Everything you find is for the I think it's like a 2000 to 2005 or something like that stepper motors for the newer gen, and this is a 97, so it I guess has the older stuff. But anyway, I'll pull this off and then I will get back to you guys. Okay, so here's the inside of the cluster. Please note that these right here, I apologize, half this crap's probably going to be blurry. It's like ridiculous. I need a real camera to do this kind of crap, but you know, just please bear with it. And me, I'm doing this as I go through it. I haven't taken this apart previously, so I mean, I'm learning as we go along here. But you'll see that those things, you can see barely the little pins that go in, and how it does that, and that's actually keeping these pins in place on this motor. And these are your motors that you deal with this gauge. And so this is, I guess, a good opportunity to go ahead and look through all your lights. It's a lot easier to do this than pulling them, although you can actually pull them out of the back. It's not doesn't look to be a big deal. Also worth noting, it'd be very easy to be a scumbag and probably manipulate your odometer, and I'm fairly certain that is a federal crime and some sort of fraud, which will no doubt carry a prison sentence or a hefty fine in the United States anyway. So we should just be honest people and not mess around with that. But what we're going to do here, and by we are going to do, I mean me, is we're going to locate my Torx bits wherever they are, and we are going to pull out the gas one, or the fuel gauge I should say. It's not always going to be gas. This happens to the diesel trucks too. Again, fairly certain it's going to be all your Chevys. Hey look, there's a cat. So this happens to all of them, it seems. Everyone has this problem. 99s I guess have a vibration problem, and that's definitely not what we're trying to fix. Though I guess some people have fixed this with the same treatment, but I can't vouch for that at all. So I guess I will come back when I have this thing out. So I found the right Torx bit, and it looks like, oh man, I shouldn't even try this. It looks like it's going to be a T8. These have the holes in it, so I don't know if that's the H, but says S2 T8H. I don't know, I imagine that's going to be a T8. And also, it's worth noting, I'm doing this by hand, and you can actually loosen these by hand. They're not torqued in very hard at all, so I would, if you're going to try and do this, I mean, you can just go on eBay and probably find a cluster that will work, but I mean, I would rather just buy a new motor and put it in, if I'm honest, but I don't want, I'm trying to do this really cheap because most people aren't going to have the money to do this. Now, I have no idea necessarily what direction this is going to go out, has to go in or out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and Sharpie the edge of in here on the cluster itself, as well as the motor, so that it goes back in aligned exactly how it came out. And now is the time when I have to mess around with it and see if I can affect positive change in this thing. So I will be back. So I'm trying to inject the silicone oil into this motor, and I poked a little hole. You see that black dot? Sorry, again, it's fuzzy. You can see that black dot. I took a needle and I heated it up, and I slowly worked a hole in there until I could kind of see metal down inside, and I actually used like kind of like a syringe, but it doesn't have a needle, that fits over the yellow plastic right here, and it just went over the whole thing, and then I pushed in there until it came out of the top. So what I'm thinking that's gonna do, supposedly you kind of inject it and wait a day or whatever, but what this is gonna do is obviously be much faster. And so what I'm going to do now is probably heat it back up and try to close that, and then probably put a dab of CA glue over the top to try and seal where that went in. And it's a little bit hard to take this off, take all this apart. These kind of slide up off the but it's pretty difficult to do that, but it is possible. Right now it feels really stiff, so I'm thinking that this will be a good fix. So next time you will probably see this back in the Tahoe. Okay, so driving around here, we're about to go over a speed bump so you can see the fuel gauge. It's not fixed 100%. I mean, it still moves, but I mean, it, compared to what it was, it's definitely a lot better. It's reading accurate, and it doesn't bounce nearly as much as it did, which is really nice. And I haven't destroyed any of my gauges, which is really nice as well. Alright, since I kind of left you guys hanging, I'm going to do the last bit while filming my cat. So, a couple things. One, you don't have to solder anything to take the motors out or anything. They all just kind of pop in and so forth. Also, the whole point of popping a hole in the side of the motor was to allow air to escape as you're pushing the silicone oil in. And I'm pretty sure there's still air in it because I moved it around and then added more, so yeah, I'm going to probably have to go back and see if I can get it any better. I'll probably make a note in the description if I was able to do that. Just want to say good luck to anyone trying to do this. It's not that difficult. I think I outlined it pretty well. I hope I didn't leave much stuff out. And since the cat's leaving, I will too. Later.